The Harbor View Hotel's grand ballroom glowed under chandeliers as my father's retirement gala reached its crescendo. 45 years of loyal service to Weston and Price Consulting had earned him this evening, complete with heartfelt speeches, an engraved Rolex, and enough old money networking to rival a Forbes summit. I lingered near the dessert station, swirling water in a glass while my family glided from table to table, discussing luxury ski trips, market forecasts, and their children's Ivy League achievements. Everyone except me, of course. I wore a navy dress I'd owned since grad school. My hair, twisted into a loose bun, was held by a worn elastic dusted with dried clay from my studio. No matter how much I scrubbed, faint traces of terracotta still shadowed my fingernails, a silent confession of where I'd been that morning. To this room, I wasn't Lena Caldwell, 30-year-old ceramic artist with a growing online following. I was the family oddity, the one who abandoned a promising MBA track to play with mud. "Lena, darling," my Aunt Sylvia approached, all pearls and polite judgment, her smile as polished as her diamond tennis bracelet. Trailing her was Uncle Graham, my father's younger brother, the real estate mogul who could turn a cornfield into a cash cow. His wife Colette practically sparkled in a gown that whispered couture, her perfume announcing her 2 seconds before she spoke. Behind them, my cousin Evan strode in, fresh from his promotion to senior VP at some investment firm that made headlines every quarter. His wife Harper radiated the effortless poise of someone who never waited for a table or a paycheck. "Still in that little loft?" Colette asked, her tone dripping with fabricated concern. "I keep telling Graham," she added with a tinkling laugh, "we should help you find something suitable, maybe a chic condo in a safer neighborhood." "The loft works fine for me," I said evenly, taking a sip of water as they toasted with champagne, worth more than my monthly studio rent. "Loft?" Graham echoed with a chuckle, shaking his head. "That's generous for a garage conversion." He leaned closer, voice soft but heavy with condescension. "Lena, you're 30 now. Don't you think it's time for stability? I could get you in at my firm, entry level, nothing glamorous, but it's a start toward a real future." Evan chimed in with a grin. "Uncle Graham's right. The pottery thing is cute as a hobby, but you've got to think long term. 401k. Health insurance? Equity? I can show you some portfolios that would set you up for life." "What kind of ceramics do you even make?" Harper asked, her tone suggesting she was asking about something as niche as handcrafting shoelaces. "Still those little bowls you used to give everyone for Christmas?" Her voice carried just enough for heads to turn. Family members began drifting over, curiosity piqued by what had become the annual "what are we going to do about Lena" conversation. "She makes pottery," my mother offered with a polite smile, her voice tinged with that strained patience reserved for defending bad decisions. "Lovely pieces, very rustic." "She's quite talented, actually," Mom added quickly, as if talent might somehow excuse a lack of a W-2. "It's just, not exactly a career." "Mom," my younger sister Allison cut in. She wore her medical residency confidence like a crown, every inch the golden child. "Lena's work is really good. I have one of her vases in my apartment." "That's nice, honey," Aunt Sylvia said, gently patting Allison's hand as though indulging a child's fantasy. "But the market for that sort of thing is so limited. Maybe Lena could teach art classes. Make it practical." "Teaching is an excellent idea," Sylvia continued, her pearls catching the ballroom light like tiny judgmental stars. "Stable, good benefits. The school district is always desperate for art teachers." Before I could respond, a familiar voice cut through the hum of conversation. "What's all the fuss over here?" My father, the guest of honor himself, strode toward us with the commanding presence of a man who'd spent decades leading boardrooms. At 65, his silver hair was sharp against the midnight blue of his tailored suit. "We're just discussing Lena's future," Uncle Graham said, ever the self-appointed fixer, trying to help her make some practical decisions. "This pottery phase has gone on long enough." "Phase," I repeated quietly, feeling the words settle like a stone in my chest. "Well, yes," Colette chimed in with a tinkling laugh. "It's been, 10 years now? At some point, darling, you need to join the real world. Look at Allison, about to be a surgeon. Look at Evan, making 7 figures in finance. And speaking of which, Evan said smoothly, Harper's firm needs a branding coordinator. It's not exactly pottery, but it uses creative skills. Steady paycheck, benefits, upward mobility. I could put in a word. The circle had grown to include nearly the entire party, even a few of Dad's old colleagues who looked on like spectators at a slow-motion car crash. I smiled faintly, though my pulse thundered. They didn't know. Not yet. Lena, I'm gonna be blunt because someone needs to be. Uncle Graham's voice cut through the chatter like a judge delivering a verdict. You're 30 years old, living in a loft that's basically a garage, driving a car older than Allison's med school textbooks, wearing the same 3 dresses to every family function. When are you going to get a real job and start building a real life? The words hung in the air like smoke. Even the clink of champagne glasses faded as conversation stalled. All eyes turned to me, the spotlight burning hotter than the ballroom chandeliers. Graham makes some valid points, my father said gently, his voice carrying the weight of concern rather than judgment. Lena, your mother and I love that you've pursued your passion, but we worry about your future, your security. What happens when you're our age and you have nothing substantial to show for it? Art is beautiful, my mother added quickly, offering a brittle smile. But it's not practical. It's not reliable. You can't build a family or a future on something so uncertain. I looked at their faces, earnest, worried, convinced they were saving me from myself. To them, I was the dreamer drifting toward disaster. They saw clay-streaked aprons, modest clothes, and a stubborn refusal to accept a conventional career path. They didn't see what I'd built. They had no idea that my little pots had been selling out at international exhibitions for years, or that my latest collection was valued in 6 figures before it even left the kiln. You know what? I said finally, setting my water glass down with a soft click. Maybe you're right. Uncle Graham's grin widened like a man watching a storm break in his favor. That's the spirit. First step is admitting you need stability. Speaking of stability, Evan added, already fishing his phone from his pocket, I brought some investment portfolios. We could go over them right now, start planning for your future. That's thoughtful, I replied evenly, but I'll have to run any major decisions by my wealth management team first. The wealth management team? Colette blinked, then laughed lightly. Lena, darling, you don't make enough to need a financial advisor. Well, I said, folding my hands, technically, I use a firm. They handle portfolio diversification and tax strategy. Things get complicated when you're managing multiple revenue streams and international clients. The confusion on their faces was priceless. Multiple income streams? Allison echoed slowly. Lena, what are you talking about? Before I could answer, movement at the entrance pulled every gaze in the room. The maitre d' was escorting a distinguished man in an impeccably tailored suit, a man everyone seemed to recognize. That's Marcus Whitfield, someone whispered. From Whitfield Gallery. What's he doing here? Marcus scanned the ballroom, then smiled warmly the moment his eyes landed on me. He strode toward me with unmistakable purpose. Oh no, I murmured under my breath. Miss Caldwell. Marcus Whitfield's voice carried easily across the ballroom, cutting through the murmurs and the soft swell of the string quartet. Heads turned as he strode toward us, his polished shoes silent on the marble floor, his tailored charcoal suit catching the chandelier's glow. There you are, he said warmly when he reached me. I've been looking everywhere. I have incredible news about your collection. The cluster of family members instinctively parted like the Red Sea, their champagne flutes frozen mid-air as Marcus joined our circle. Everyone in the art world knew his name. Marcus Whitfield, gallery owner, kingmaker, the man whose endorsement could turn an obscure artist into a global phenomenon. His presence alone was enough to command reverence. Mr. Whitfield, I said, lowering my voice, now really isn't the best. Nonsense, he interrupted with a laugh. This can't wait. The Tokyo exhibition absolute triumph, every single piece sold within the first hour. He glanced around at the now silent group, clearly oblivious to their shock. Collectors were practically wrestling over your Earth and Sky series. Your Eternal Horizons set alone went for $2,300,000, 0 cents. The stillness that followed was so profound, I could hear the soft hiss of champagne bubbles in someone's glass. Uncle Graham's hand twitched, and his crystal flute slipped, shattering on the floor. "I'm sorry," my mother whispered faintly. "Did you say million?" Marcus's smile broadened. "Oh, you must be Lena's family. How lovely. Yes, $2,300,000, 0 cents for that series. The full Tokyo show totaled $15,700,000, 0 cents in sales." 15? Evan croaked, his voice cracking. 15 million? No, and that's just for this month, Marcus added breezily. Between Tokyo, the London collector auctions, and the museum acquisitions, Lena's annual revenue is approaching 8 figures. If projections hold, she'll cross the $50 million 0 cents mark within 18 months. My father swayed slightly, gripping the back of a chair like a lifeline. Marcus turned back to me, still grinning. "Which brings me to why I'm here. The Louvre. They've extended a formal offer for your season's collection. They want a permanent wing for contemporary American art, with your work as the centerpiece." He paused for effect. "The acquisition offer is $75 million, 0 cents. Allison's lips moved soundlessly before she whispered, "As in, the Louvre in Paris?" "The very one," Marcus confirmed. Lena would be the youngest American artist in history to have a permanent exhibition there. Truly unprecedented. Colette made a small choking sound. Uncle Graham had gone gray. Evan stared at me as if I'd just grown wings. "Lena," my father's voice was barely audible, his composure fraying. "Is this real?" "I tried to tell you," I said softly, keeping my tone even. "You just never asked about the details." Marcus glanced around the circle of stunned faces, brows knitting in mild confusion. "I'm sorry, did I interrupt something important?" "No," I said quickly, sliding a calm smile across my lips. "Nothing important, just a little family discussion about career choices." "Well then," Marcus continued cheerfully, "while we're on the topic of career choices, I actually have another proposal for you." His eyes sparkled. "The Metropolitan Museum of Art wants a commission series for their American wing renovation. 12 large-scale pieces. The commission alone is $20 million, 0 cents, plus full marketing inclusion." Someone, maybe Harper, let out a strangled gasp. 20 million? Allison repeated faintly. "And that's before royalties," Marcus added casually. "The licensing deals for Lena's work bring in about $3 million, 0 cents annually." He scrolled through his phone and turned the screen toward the group. "These are from the penthouse installation we completed last week. Tech billionaire in San Francisco. 12 pieces, $8,500,000, 0 cents total." The photos looked like something out of an architecture magazine. Sleek interiors adorned with monumental landscapes that glowed with life and motion. "She painted those?" Allison whispered, her voice breaking. "Indeed," Marcus said warmly, "in her studio. Which, by the way, Lena, your expansion is complete. The new workspace is ready whenever you are." "Expansion?" My mother blinked, like someone surfacing from deep water. "Lena purchased the building next to her current studio," Marcus explained. "State-of-the-art lighting, climate-controlled storage, custom areas for large-format work. Cost about $2,800,000, 0 cents, but essential for an artist operating at her scale." "She bought a building," Colette stammered. I sighed lightly, almost apologetic. 3, actually. The expanded studio, a private gallery space for exhibitions, and a residential property. Marcus's grin widened. "Ah, yes, the Victorian mansion in the Arts District. The restoration is breathtaking. Architectural Digest has been calling it one of the most beautiful private residences in the city." Across the circle, Uncle Graham's face drained of color. Colette clutched her pearls like a lifeline. Evan's phone slipped from his fingers, hitting the marble floor with a sharp crack. The room was spinning. For them anyway. For me, it had never been clearer. If you want to see how Lena delivers the final blow and turns this family drama into the ultimate power move, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what happens next. Lena, you own a mansion? It's not that big, I said quickly, my voice steady despite the heat creeping up my neck. Just 12 rooms. Most of them are for displaying art and hosting small exhibitions. I'm planning to start a foundation for emerging artists. It's something I care about. 12 rooms, Evan repeated numbly, as if trying to compute the number in his head. Marcus glanced at his watch. Speaking of which, Lena, I hate to interrupt this lively discussion, but the transport company needs your decision about the collection pickup. Should they move everything to the secure storage facility tonight, or do you prefer tomorrow? My father's brows furrowed. Collection pickup? Marcus smiled patiently. Several major pieces are currently in Lena's private residence. For insurance purposes, anything valued over $5 million, 0 cents, must be kept in a specialized, climate-controlled facility when not on display. Standard protocol. Wait. Allison stepped forward slightly. How many pieces are we talking about? Marcus consulted his phone with calm precision. 37 pieces in her personal collection. Combined value approximately $127 million, 0 cents. Though that fluctuates based on market trends and auction results, the number hit like a physical blow. Aunt Colette gasped audibly. Uncle Graham gripped the back of a chair for support. 127 million? My mother's whisper cracked like brittle glass. In paintings, Evan choked. Paintings Lena created, Marcus confirmed. And that's just her private collection. The total valuation of her lifetime work, including museum installations and private collectors worldwide, exceeds $400 million, 0 cents. 400. Evan couldn't finish the sentence. I let the silence stretch, sweeping my gaze over their stunned faces. These people who, less than an hour ago, were urging me to abandon my hobby for a so-called real job. Lena, my father's voice was hoarse. Why didn't you tell us? Why let us think? Think what? I asked softly. That I was failing because I didn't have a corporate title? That art isn't valuable unless it comes with a business card and a corner office? But you live so simply, my mother stammered. Your clothes, your car. My lifestyle choices aren't about what I can afford, I interrupted gently. They're about what matters to me. I don't need designer clothes or a luxury car to feel successful. I need to create work that moves people, that makes them feel something real. Marcus nodded approvingly. Her dedication is legendary in the art world. Crossing the circle, no one spoke. For once, they had nothing left to say. He works 12 to 14 hours a day in her studio, Marcus said, his voice warm but firm. She's turned down massive commercial offers that didn't align with her vision. That integrity is why her work is so coveted. You turn down projects? Uncle Graham asked weakly, his voice cracking. Last month, I said calmly, I declined a $12 million 0 cents commission from a luxury casino group. They wanted pieces that would encourage gambling. It didn't feel right. You turned down $12 million? Colette sounded like she might faint. Money isn't everything, I replied. Artistic integrity matters more than profit. Marcus glanced at his watch. Lena, I really do need your decision on the transport. The security team is ready. Go ahead with the pickup, I said without hesitation. Use the secure facility. Excellent, he smiled. And the Louvre decision? They need your answer by Monday. I paused, choosing my words with care. Tell them yes, but I want input on the exhibition design and the educational programs. I won't let my work become just another acquisition. Marcus's grin widened. Brilliant. I'll schedule a call with their curator tomorrow. With that, he slipped away to coordinate the movement of what amounted to a fortune in art, leaving me in the heavy silence of a family still reeling. Lena, Uncle Graham's voice was raw. I owe you an apology, a massive, groveling apology. We all do, my father said quietly, shoulders sagging. We were so focused on what success should look like. We didn't see that you'd already built something extraordinary. Amanda swallowed hard. Why didn't you tell us? Why let us worry? Because I needed to know you loved me for who I am, I said softly, not for what I've achieved. I wanted your respect to be about me, not my bank account. The truth settled like a stone in water, rippling through the circle. Faces fell as the weight of it landed. They hadn't been worried for me. They'd been worried for themselves. Lena, my mother whispered, can you forgive us for being so blind? There's nothing to forgive, I said, meaning it. You are worried about someone you love. That comes from a good place, even if it was misguided. For a long moment, no one spoke. And for the first time in years, I felt completely free. Evan cleared his throat, his face still pale. So, about that financial advisor recommendation I was going to give you, I'll stick with Goldman Sachs for now, I said with a small smile. But thank you for thinking of me. Goldman Sachs manages your portfolio? Harper squeaked. They handle my conservative investments, I replied calmly. The art market and alternative assets are managed by a specialist firm in New York. Uncle Graham let out a low whistle and shook his head. Lena, I feel like the biggest fool in this room. Here I was, offering you an entry-level position at my company, and you probably make more in a month than I do in a year. Success isn't a competition, Uncle Graham, I said, my voice gentle but firm. Your real estate business is impressive. You've built something meaningful. Not like this. His hand made a vague gesture as if trying to encompass everything he had just learned about me. This is extraordinary. It's what happens when you follow your passion and work harder than everyone thinks is reasonable, I said simply. And yes, a little luck with timing and markets. Luck had nothing to do with it, my father said suddenly, his voice strong again. This is talent, vision, discipline. We were too blinded by our own definitions of success to see it. Marcus reappeared at my side, checking his sleek watch. Lena, transportation is arranged. Your pieces will be in secure storage by midnight. The Louvre call is confirmed for 9 a.m. Paris time tomorrow. Shall I book the private jet, or would you prefer to handle it? Private jet? Several relatives echoed in disbelief. I'll handle my own travel, I said quickly, fighting a laugh. But thank you for coordinating the call. Of course. Oh, PBS confirmed next week's filming schedule. They're thrilled about the documentary on your creative process. Documentary? Allison repeated faintly. PBS is doing a feature on contemporary American artists, I explained. They'll shadow me for a day, talk to collectors, curators, make art more accessible. My daughter on PBS, my mother whispered. Huh. Marcus grinned. She'll be brilliant. She always is. Then, with a quick glance at his phone, enjoy your father's party, Lena. You've earned it. As he disappeared into the crowd, silence settled again. Evan spoke first, voice unsteady. When you said you were fine, financially, what did that actually mean? I shrugged lightly, meeting his stunned gaze. It meant, I said, that I'm fine. I can pay my bills, plan for the future, and create without worrying about money, I said evenly. But, specifically, Colette pressed, her voice trembling. What does fine look like when your paintings sell for millions? I hesitated, weighing how much truth to drop into this already shocked circle. My accountant estimates my current net worth at around $180 million. 0 cents, I said finally, not including the value of the pieces in my personal collection. The silence was so heavy it felt like gravity had doubled. Then, Colette's champagne flute slipped from her fingers, shattering against the marble. 180 million, my father repeated slowly, as if tasting each syllable. It's not about the money, I said quickly. It's about creating something that outlasts me, work that moves people long after I'm gone. But the money doesn't hurt, Evan muttered weakly. The money gives me freedom, I agreed. Freedom to take risks, to experiment, to walk away from projects that don't feel right. It's a tool, not a goal. Uncle Graham shook his head, eyes wide. All this time, I've been bragging about my real estate empire, and my niece has been quietly building an art empire that makes me look broke. Success isn't a competition, I repeated gently. Besides, your work matters. You build homes, communities. That's important. Amanda spoke next, her voice small. Then why? Why do you live so modestly? With that kind of money, why not? Why not what? I cut in softly. Buy a fleet of luxury cars? Wear designer everything? That's not what makes me happy. I don't need marble countertops or gold-plated faucets. I need time, space, light, freedom to create without distraction. I paused, letting my words settle before adding. The mansion Mark is mentioned? It's mostly gallery and workspace. The residential part is simple, functional, because I care more about ventilation and natural light than chandeliers. My mother stared at me like she was meeting me for the first time. Lena, I feel like I don't know you. All these years, I said quietly, you thought I was your struggling artist daughter who needed guidance, and I am your daughter. But struggling? That depends on how you define it. Every painting is a battle. Every canvas tests me. That hasn't changed. But you're not struggling financially, my father said hoarsely. No, I admitted, but financial security doesn't erase artistic struggle. If anything, it makes staying true to my vision more important. Amanda blinked. Is that why you volunteer at the community center, teaching art to kids? Partly, I said with a smile, because giving back matters. But mostly, I continued softly, because those kids remind me why art matters. They don't care about market value or critical reviews. They just want to create something beautiful. Uncle Graham was still shaking his head, his expression a mix of wonder and shame. Lena, I owe you the biggest apology. All those comments about getting a real job, about being practical. You were trying to help, I said gently. You were worried about my future because you care about me. But we were so condescending, Colette admitted, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. So dismissive of your work. You didn't know, I replied. And honestly, there were times when I wasn't sure myself. The art world is unpredictable. Success isn't guaranteed just because you work hard. But you never gave up, my father observed quietly, his voice thick with something that sounded like pride. Because I couldn't, I said simply. Painting isn't just what I do, it's who I am. Even if I'd never sold a single piece, I would have kept creating. Evan exhaled slowly, his earlier arrogance replaced with humility. That's what we missed. We were measuring your success by external standards. But you were measuring it by internal ones. Success is personal, I agreed. For some people, it's climbing the corporate ladder. For others, it's raising a family, serving their community, or mastering a craft. There's no universal definition. My mother reached across the table and took my paint-stained hand. Lena, can you forgive us for being so narrow-minded, for trying to force you into our idea of what your life should look like? There's nothing to forgive, Mom, I said, squeezing her hand. Family means wanting the best for each other, even when we disagree about what best looks like. But we were wrong, she insisted. You found your path, and it led to something we never could have imagined. You weren't wrong to worry, I told her gently. The art world is risky. Most artists do struggle financially their whole lives. You had legitimate concerns. But we should have trusted you, my father said firmly. Believed that if anyone could make it work, it would be you. You do trust me now, I pointed out, smiling softly. That's what matters. Uncle Graham raised his champagne glass. To Lena Caldwell, world-renowned artist, and to all of us learning that success comes in many forms. To family, I countered, lifting my water glass. And to supporting each other's dreams, even when we don't understand them. As the evening wound down and the last guests left, My family gathered around me with a respect I'd never felt before. They'd learned something about assumptions, success, and the danger of measuring another person's life by your own yardstick. And I had learned something too, that sometimes the people who love you most need the world to validate your success before they can fully appreciate what you've built. It wasn't ideal, but it was human. 3 months later, the PBS documentary aired, featuring my family prominently in segments about supporting artists. Uncle Graham became one of my biggest advocates, leveraging his real estate network to help young artists find affordable studios. My father embraced his role as the parent of a renowned artist, attending gallery openings and learning the language of the art world with the same dedication he once gave to legal briefs. But the biggest change was in how we talked to each other. No more assumptions about what success should look like, no more dismissive comments about unconventional paths. We learned to ask questions instead of making judgments, and every family gathering ended with a new tradition, a toast to following your passion, wherever it might lead. If you've made it this far, I want to hear from you. Tell me, what would you have said if you were standing in my shoes tonight? Would you have revealed everything or stayed quiet? Drop your thoughts in the comments because your perspective matters to me. And if you've ever been underestimated or told your dreams weren't practical, share that story too. I want this to be a space where we lift each other up. Here's my advice. Never let someone else's definition of success determine your worth. People will tell you to play it safe, to follow the proven path, but the truth is, what's safe for them might be a cage for you. If you have something you love so much that you'd do it for free, that's your gift. Protect it, nurture it, and when the time comes, fight for it. If this story resonated with you, tap that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I've got more stories about perseverance, passion, and proving people wrong. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Together, let's keep proving that unconventional paths can lead to extraordinary places.